Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining our live telephone town hall. My name is Dirk and I'll be moderating today's call. This is an interactive forum and we would love to hear from you. We'll be taking as many questions as possible live during this event. If you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff. They will take down your name and where you're calling from. Then the next time you hear your name, you will be live on the call and able to ask your question directly. If you're streaming the event on our website, you can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can today. And now, to get this call kicked off, I'm happy to introduce United Cooperative Services General Manager and CEO, Cameron Smallwood.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Cameron Smallwood. Thank you for joining us today. As a lot of you know, United engages its members in many ways, including through community meetings, its annual meeting each October, Texas Cooperative Power Magazine, social media, and in regular daily interactions, just to name a few. Today, we are leveraging this telephone town hall platform to engage with you, our members. During our time today, I will provide an update on major initiatives at your cooperative, but also our continuing navigation through the challenging times posed by the pandemic and February's Winter Storm Uri. I know your time is valuable, so I will be as efficient as possible with our time today. As the moderator said, you can ask questions by pressing *3 on your phone keypad, and I will answer as many of those as possible at the end of my presentation today.
Thank you very much, Cameron. Now, as it's been mentioned, this is an interactive forum, and we truly do want to hear from you. We will be taking as many questions from participants on the phone and online as we possibly can live. So to repeat, if you have a question you want to ask, all you need to do is press *3 on your phone keypad at any time to be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff who will take down your name, where you're calling from. Then the next time you hear your name, you'll be live on the call and able to ask your question. Again, if you're streaming the event online, you can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. We are going to do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can today. But if we're not able to address your question, please leave us a voicemail after the event by simply remaining on the line, or you can call our office at 817-556-4000. Again, that telephone number is 817-556-4000. Remember, if you have any questions you want to ask live during this call, please press *3 on your telephone keypad or type your question below the streaming player.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad that you've joined us today. I know some of you have joined us by telephone, and some of you have joined us by computer. If you've joined us by computer, you'll see some slides that I'll be speaking from, but don't worry if you're on phone. You should still be able to follow along with my comments without an issue. And so thank you for joining us again today, and I'll try to be efficient with your time, as like I said a bit ago. But I'd like to just start with our mission statement because it's really important to us here at your cooperative. Our mission is very simple, and United will provide exceptional service and value. And we made that change a number of years ago to really focus on what you as members desire out of your cooperative, and that's service and value. And I believe we do a good job of that, and you tell us that continually as you answer our surveys and as you give us comments either through the website or through emails or even coming into our office. So we so much appreciate those comments. We also want to know when we're not doing so well. And so if you ever have a comment on those grounds, please let us know. And in the same way, you can get us a call or however you want to do that. We'd be really glad to hear it. But we enjoy the ability to serve you, our members and owners of your cooperative. Now, to talk about your cooperative just a little bit, we're growing faster than we have grown since the late 90s. Right now, our growth rate is about under 5%, and that's a pretty big number for a rural electric cooperative. Obviously, some of the areas we serve are more suburban, which is where much of that growth is coming from. But it's a good thing for your cooperative and the financial position of your cooperative. So we serve about 96,000 of you, and proudly do so with about 183 employees. We're very efficient organization. Many cooperatives that serve the amount of meters that we serve typically have 250 employees, and we have about 184 currently, and so we're very pleased to be able to do that. We do that through 6 offices, and one new one that I'll talk about here in a minute, through 11,000 miles of distribution lines, and so that's a lot of line that we operate and maintain every day for you, and that system is growing every day as well. Through about 95,000 account member locations that I brought up a little bit ago. And another thing I'd like to bring up is in the bottom right-hand corner of your slide, you see the information about member dividends that we've returned back to our members. So when we have positive margins, or what some people might call profit, but in a nonprofit world we call them margins, those don't just go back to some magical place and in somebody's pocket. They go back into the member's pocket. And so they go into an account for each of our members based on how much energy you purchase from us. And basically, from year to year, the board looks at our financial condition and returns some of that back to its members. And so with that said, since 2000, we've returned almost $85 million in member dividends back to our members. Last year, we returned $5.8 million. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that this year. It'll be the first year in many that we're not able to do that, and I'll discuss that in more detail in the slides to come. And, we had the pandemic situation. Obviously, that calmed down a bit. There is a resurgence right now. We're handling business as normal right now. We don't intend to change that or go into further lockdowns at this point in time. Obviously, we're not in total control of that situation. Local governments, et cetera, can create new challenges for us in that level, but we don't intend to do any lockdowns or changes at this point in time in your business. So just an update for you there. The second thing I'd like to talk about today is the Winter Storm Uri. And you might say, why are we talking about something that happened in February? And the bottom line there is that we still have some challenges as a result of that. On the slide that you see, it says Texas-sized failure. I believe there were a lot of issues that we saw in the state of Texas that we can do better with. And at your cooperative, we've been very vocal with your legislators and those that will listen to us. We've given our input as to how things can go better, and we continue to work on that to try to basically represent you in all those ways possible. The impact on our members is still sort of unknown from a standpoint of the financial impact. Obviously, as members, you actually went through that event. You know exactly how we handled it. And bottom line is I think we did a really good job, and we've heard that from you. When you compare our performance as to how we rotated outages and kept our members on for the most part, our members were very pleased with how we handled things compared to how utilities around us handled things. So we were prepared for it, and we worked our plan just like we prepared for it, and we were able to do that successfully. And most of our members didn't see outages more than about 30 minutes at a time, which that wasn't the normal across the state. As many of you are probably aware, there were folks that were out on Encore and other investor-owned utilities and municipals for 4 and 5 days during that time, which is obviously a really big challenge, and none of our members saw that, and so we were pleased to do that. But the slide that's on the screen right now talks a little bit about the financial impact of that situation. And the bottom line is the bill that we could have got that Brazos didn't send us, but Brazos is basically the wholesaler that handles all the energy purchases for the members of United and 15 other distribution cooperatives, many around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And what Brazos does is they procure that power. All that runs through ERCOT. Brazos does run some generation as well. But at the end of the day, there were some issues with natural gas flow, so Brazos couldn't run several of their generation facilities. There were a few issues related to the ERCOT situation that took Brazos facilities down. So it was much of a mess across the state, and Brazos saw many of those messes. But the end result of the billing that could come to us could be as high as $2, $1.80 per kilowatt hour. And folks, you normally pay from Brazos about 5 to 6 cents per kilowatt hour. And so there's a very big difference between those two numbers. But as a protective mode, Brazos filed for bankruptcy reorganization protection. This happened several months back, and it was done in an attempt to deal with many of the issues that are going on right now with the financial ramifications of the storm. So you haven't been billed any of that yet at this point in time because Brazos hasn't billed your cooperative, and we're doing everything we can. We've got the best experts working for us on your behalf to position us in the best way possible throughout the Brazos bankruptcy process. So we don't really know what the end result is. We're hearing now it could be as long as 9 months from now before we have answers as to what that looks like. But know this, we're doing everything we can to minimize the impact on our members. If we do get any significant bill, we're likely to securitize that amount. What that means is we're going to borrow money to pay the bill, whatever's presented to us, and we'll spread that out over a long period of time with a goal of less than $10 a month impact to our members. And that number is still big, what I just said. But right now, where the numbers are right now, it would be more than that, and we're fighting everything we can to keep that from happening and passing that cost to our members. I believe we're going to be successful in that, but I can't promise you that at this point in time. But know this, we're doing everything we can. Moving on to another item that we've been sort of forced to do is we're in the process of a meter change out right now. We didn't plan to start actually on this process until probably next year or the year after. But the meter manufacturer called us about 2 years ago and said we're going to stop supporting the software in this meter basically at the end of this year. And y'all really need to get busy because we're not going to support you going forward. And obviously we can't have meters that don't work. And so we started to change out these meters. We're about a third through that change out project, and we should be complete with it at the same time that the meters go out of warranty or out of maintenance mode, if you will. And so we've made these meters last as long as we physically can. You might remember that we started changing these back in 2005, and so we've basically gotten about 15 to 16 years out of them. And so considering the fact that they're a little computer, I think that's a pretty good life, even though we would have liked to get a few more years of life out of them. But some of the new features of the new meter are pretty impressive and will really help us to serve you better going forward. But we wanted you to be aware that this is happening. We started the change out in eastern Johnson County and are making our way west over time. So you'll see us come to your area, let's say if you're in Godley or Granbury or further west as we go forward. Next item I'd like to talk about is our facilities expansion plans. We had plans to begin 2 projects. I've been talking about it in our Texas Co-op Power magazine for the last year. To build a new facility in Mansfield. We have a significant amount of new members in Mansfield, and we don't have an office in that area. So we have some property there, and we were basically in the process. It just started the process to design a new building for that area to support our members there. We put that on hold. We also have a project to rebuild the Cleveland facility where it is at today. Basically demolish the building and build a new building in its place. We believe that's a good location, and the property there is suitable for what we're trying to accomplish. We just don't have the space we need there. And instead of adding on, it's really not something that we could do effectively there. So we see it as better and cheaper to knock down the building that's there and start over on the same site. However, just like the Mansfield facility, our board, which is members just like yourself, decided to put that on hold as a result of this Brazos bankruptcy and not knowing the financial impacts down the road. But as that becomes more clear to us, we'll be able to make those decisions. But as of right now, those projects have been put on hold. We were in the process of looking for where to put our employees temporarily during the construction of the Cleveland facility because there's employees there that would have to move and get out of the way, so to speak. And so we happened to have the opportunity to purchase the old Wells Fargo Bank in Joshua, and we did that, and we have been working on the inside of it. You'll see our signs going up probably in the next week or so. Our goal is to open that office up to member traffic in October. Probably October 4th is our target date, and so wanted you to be aware of that. We got a pretty good deal on that property and believe that we'll actually end up making some money on it for our members when we sell it in the future in hopes to basically close that and go back to our Cleveland facility. But right now, we're not able to do that because we haven't even started the Cleveland facility yet. So you'll see us operate out of the Joshua facility probably for a couple of years at least at this point in time. Wanted you to be aware of that. And hopefully for many of you listening, that'll be a pretty convenient location for you to drop off payments or deal with our member service. The next item I'd like to talk about today is your annual meeting. And typically we have an annual meeting in October, and we have it at the high school theater in Glenrose. We haven't been able to do that the last 2 years because of COVID. And so we're going to take a different approach this year, and because we really missed seeing you last year in person. And so instead of bringing everybody to one place, we're going to basically open up all of your offices and facilities for you to come in and meet with us at the local facilities, be registered for door prizes, and have a meal with us with smaller groups, obviously, at each of the offices instead of one location. And hopefully you'll be able to attend. We're going to open basically at 10 a.m. and close at 2 p.m. as far as the member appreciation time. But we'll have some gifts for every member that show up, and also have door prizes for those that register. If you haven't voted by that point in time for the director election, you can bring your ballot with you. And so at this point in time, we'll actually finish that member appreciation day and have the actual annual meeting via telephone and live conference like we're doing right now. I'll have a small presentation, and the board will do their business as needed for the director elections. And that'll happen at 4 p.m. in a format just like what you're seeing this evening. So we do have a polling question because we're interested to know if you'd like to participate. So if Dirk or Megan, you would handle that, that'd be great.
Thank you, Cameron. And to recap, United is inviting its members this year to attend a Member Appreciation Day, October 15th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., featuring fantastic food and great giveaways at each of the cooperative's local offices. Now, this is going to happen in advance of its annual meeting, as Cameron just mentioned, and the annual meeting will be held virtually on October 15th, starting at 4 p.m. Now, this is where the interactive portion happens. If you would like to vote in this and give us your opinion, please use your telephone keypad and make your vote. So now what we'd like to know is, would you be willing to attend such an event? Press 1 for yes, definitely. Press 2 if you would like to attend but have a conflict. Press 3 if you wouldn't attend, so no way. So again, what we'd like to know is, would you be willing to attend a live event from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at each of the cooperative's local offices on October 15th, where you'll enjoy food and giveaways? If you would like to attend, press 1 for yes, definitely. Press 2 if you would like to attend but have a conflict. Press 3 if you don't want to attend. And I see we have a number of people that are registering in their vote right now. Thank you for participating. Now back to you, Cameron.
Thank you, Dirk, and thank you for participating. It looks like about 66% of you, or 2/3, would like to come, so we'd love to see you. So please join us during that time. We'll continue moving on. I'd like to talk a little bit about rates and where we're at. The first thing, I've got a chart here, and it's the chart that's in your Texas Co-op Power every month. This is the August chart, and you can see our United rate and how it compares with other cooperatives, the Encore REP average. So if you were in, let's say, Fort Worth, and folks that you could select, or companies you could select on Encore, the city of Granbury, Texas, New Mexico, et cetera, and you'll see that we're at, with the August rate, about 9.17 cents. If you were on our solar rate, with one share, you'd be at 7.89 cents, and if you had 2 shares of our solar rate, you'd be at 6.6 cents per kilowatt hour. So we're really cost effective for you, and that's what the cooperative business model is all about, is figuring out how to drive cost as low as we can for your electric service, and you can see we've done a very effective job of that. Unfortunately, the solar program is not available for registration right now because of the Brazos bankruptcy. We're trying to determine whether or not that's going to affect the solar program going forward, so we didn't want to add more members to that program right now, not knowing the answer to that. But as of today, it's still moving forward, and we're still getting that solar energy by contract through the Brazos contract that we have today. So hopefully we'll have an answer to that in the months to come and be able to open that back up to registration. I know we have quite a few people on the waiting list right now to do that. But talking about rates, I want to get into that. It was one of my last topics to discuss with you today before I take questions. When the Winter Storm Uri occurred, we were already planning, and we had put this in all of our communications to our members. We were planning a distribution rate increase. The last time we did one was a number of years ago, and we had projected that rate increase would last us until 2021. Well, the good news is it did last us until 2021, so we were able to achieve that objective. But the bad news is that we do have to do a small rate increase. And with that said, I want to show you the impact of that as compared with our competitors. So you can see, while there is a small increase, we're still very competitive against those that we compare against, being the other two wires companies that we're close to, one of which is Encore, and their rate as of September of this year, which is pretty soon, will be 4 cents a kilowatt hour for their distribution charge, and Texas and New Mexico will be 5.3 cents per kilowatt hour, and this is based on 2,000 kilowatt hours of usage. And you'll see after our rate increase, we will be at 3.3 cents per kilowatt hour. And so I believe we're still providing you that value that you desire, even though we're having to do a small increase. You won't see your bill go up that much. You probably won't even notice if I hadn't brought it up to you. So that's good news. Our hope is that's going to get us a number of years down the road, and not have to talk about this for some time. But unfortunately, as you're aware, costs continue to go up for every business, and we've been able to basically, even with a lot of the crazy costs that we've dealt with over the past few years for all these different reasons we've seen, inflation, and you name it, there's all sorts of challenges, we've been able to maintain the rates as we have. So I've been very pleased that we've been able to do that. And so this is going to become effective with your September usage. So your October bills, you'll see this small change take place. Like I said, you probably won't even notice that it happened because we're still pretty cheap. But with that said, I mentioned that the board chose not to return member dividends this year, and that's because of the Brazos bankruptcy and the impacts that has had on us financially. The second reason is the board was supposed to and planned to implement the rate increase in April of this year. And because of Winter Storm Uri and the impacts on our members, we chose to push that to this fall. Doing that was basically giving our members about a $6 million decrease in rates. Well, because we've done that, obviously we didn't collect $6 million from you that we had planned, and that's really the key financial metric as to why we're not able to effectively return member dividends this year. That would have been about $6 million of cash had we returned that. So ultimately you got that already in the fact that we delayed the rate increase 6 months. So you still got that money, you just got it over time instead of in a check. So I wanted you to be aware of that. And I think the last topic that I've got is the process of our internet build out. And I know I've already got questions on that, and I'll address to those here pretty soon. I think that this is a great project that we've been able to start and work on, and the at-a-glance slide that's up is sort of a summary of what we plan to do. And our goal is to finish the project within 5 years. We're about a year and a half into it. And so there's a lot of our members that have a little frustration right now because we're not serving you internet yet. Please be patient. We're trying to go as quickly as we can. We have hundreds of contract employees working for us right now, designing and building out this infrastructure as quickly as we can. That's a big challenge when you try to connect this many people this quickly, and so that's something that we're dealing with right now. We're going to invest a little over $200 million in this project as we go forward, and that's over 5 years. And so we're doing everything we can to manage that cost. And right now we're on pace to meet that number, even with some of the cost increases we've seen recently. We've been able to make some adjustments in our plan and basically be a little cheaper than what we thought. And so we're able to maintain that. About 90% of you voted for us to do this, and that's why we're doing this. For those of you that aren't aware that are on the call, we are doing this because you told us to, and that's what we're doing right now. We are currently almost at 6,200 members, 6,200 members with service today, and I want to tell you that's been no small feat to do that in the last year and a half that we've been doing this project. We've definitely had some growing pains throughout the process. Still have a few right now, but we're getting those narrowed down to not much of a growing process anymore, which is good. But I can tell you this, me personally, I was on a company with DSL in Johnson County. around Joshua, and I had horrible internet and very unreliable internet. And today, now that I'm on United, I just connected about 2 months ago. My daughter, for the first time, was actually able to finish up her schooling at the end of the semester, this last semester, and didn't have problems with internet as she had every semester before that. And so it's changed our family quite a bit. We were actually able to cancel our dish network and go on to streaming, and I'm saving over $100 a month right now in what I was paying before as compared to what I'm paying now. And I've got really good internet, and I'm very pleased with it. And I know you will be too, those of you that don't have it yet. Those that you that do, I'm sure you're enjoying that, and we're doing it at a very cost-competitive way. So you can register for the Internet Project if you haven't already at our website at ucs.net. We show the service areas that we're either completed or actively building in. We're trying to advance to the western portion of our system. We have construction crews in those areas right now. But those of you listening on the call right now, there's quite a few active construction zones in your area too, being around Godley and north and south of there and west Joshua all the way down to the Highway 67. So we're actively constructing in those areas right now. So good news for our members, and we'll basically shift to questions at this point in time. I'm done with my presentation, and so we've got a number of those that I'll be answering here shortly. Dirk?
All right, very good. As a reminder, to ask a question today and you're connected to this town hall on your phone, you just need to press *3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. If you're participating today online, you can enter your name and question below the streaming player. Matter of fact, we'll start with a question that was supplied by Mr. John Huff online, who wonders, will yearly dividends be affected by the installation of fiber optic internet?
John, thanks for the question. No, the yearly dividends aren't affected by the installation of fiber optic internet. We're sort of running that as a separate business right now, and actually we're supposed to, by law, run it as a separate business, so we are doing that. The dividends, though, as I mentioned to you earlier today, are affected this year, not because of fiber optics, but because of the Brazos bankruptcy and the impact on our financial position because of that Brazos bankruptcy. So that's really why we didn't do it this year. We hope that gets resolved relatively quickly and we're able to get back on track on that in the next year or two. I can't promise that because I don't know the impact long-term yet of that bankruptcy on the co-op, but there is likely to be impact on us, and we just don't know fully what that is yet. So hopefully that answers your question, John.
Thank you, Cameron. Another question from online. We've got Stephanie Arenando wants to know, with all the new building coming to the western side of Burleson, close to Chisholm Trail, how are you preparing for supply/demand? Additionally, do you expect large rate increases for infrastructure funding for that over the next few years?
Stephanie, that's a really good question. Yes, we're already preparing for that situation. We've been prepared for that for a long time, actually. We're pretty integrated with the planning from the different cities in the county, and so we sort of know and have a clue as to what's going on years typically in advance of things actually building, and we knew this as well, and so we've been planning and preparing for it for some time. Are we 100% there yet? No, because it's not started developing yet out at Chisholm Trail, but it will, and we'll be ready when it starts. As far as the rate impact of that, that's all a part of our rate planning, and so we're not expecting more rate increase because of it, because that's part of our planning in the rate increase that we're doing right now is the impact of growth and what that looks like for the years to come. And so, no, I don't believe that's going to have a negative impact on rates. The fact that we're going to add more members to your cooperative also helps to control costs over time. So the growth, while it's challenging to some of us that aren't used to it, it does help your cooperative financially over time.
So if you have a question you'd like to ask Mr. Smallwood, now is the time, because Cameron's on the line, ready to answer questions. If you're on the phone listening to this dialogue, please press *3 to enter the question queue. If you're listening online, all you need to do is submit your name and question below the streaming player. Moving to a phone call, we've got Rod Nelson joining us now on the line. Rod, welcome to the call. Go ahead with your question, please.
Well, my question was, you more or less have answered it with the Internet. We had the new phone lines run and new Internet cabling put on the poles about a year and a half ago, and the cabling has ended and they're just spooled up hanging from the end of the poles, and I was just wondering if there's a way to get an update on when that might be completed in my area.
Rod, thanks for your question, and I know we continue to deal with these kind of questions because we've sort of got several phases of construction. We have a phase that we call more of the backbone of the construction, and so all of this is fiber optic line, and so it's no old technology. It's all brand new technology, brand new fiber. All of that fiber, it takes some time. We have to deploy what we call the backbone, so it's sort of the main lines, if you will. All that has to be deployed and interconnected before we can then begin building the distribution lines that come off of that and actually go to the homes and businesses that we serve. And so, some members have seen some line there for some time, and that's typically the backbone line that's been there for a while. And we're slowly, as we go across the system, building the distribution lines off of that backbone line. And in your area, that's going to be done very soon, in the months to come. So in the Joshua and Godly and that swath of area where everyone's calling in from, you should see a lot of activity in your area over the months to come if you haven't already seen it. And so it's just a matter of we have a limited number of crews, and we've got a lot of folks working for us right now, but we've pretty much tapped out the contract world for folks coming in and helping us. And so we're having to do with what the couple hundred people that we do have working for us right now and do as quickly as we can the installations. And so I know there's some frustration with that, but we are working on it and trying to do the best we can there. So I do appreciate your question.
All right, we've got another question submitted online. This one comes from Austin Hannigan, who wonders, what speed will the fiber push? So
on questions of price and questions of speed, I'll answer it, but you can go to our website at ucs.net, and all those details are on our website very clearly. But we have basically three speeds on the fiber: 100 meg, 500 meg, and gig download speeds, and then the symmetrical is about 10% of that. So like, let's say on 100, it's 100/10, so 10 is your default upload, but you can pay a small fee to get your upload symmetricals with your download speed. So if you want to pay for the 100/100, you can do that. And the prices range from about $55 a month to about $89 a month.
But again, you say that all that information's on the website?
Yes, sir, ucs.net.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Cameron. Moving back to the phone, we've got Brian Sowell on the line with us. Brian, welcome to the call. Go ahead with your question, please.
Hey, thanks very much. I've been a member since '95. I'm an internet customer. Appreciate you guys very much. You do a great job. I'm going to ask a slightly different question. It's the same, the information I'm trying to glean, but I want to be more clear with my question. So you mentioned that the internet company is being run as a separate company. Does that mean that all of the costs and all of the risks are separate from the co-op?
Yeah, that's a fair question, Brian. So what's happened financially is ultimately we're taking loan funds to pay for the construction and finance the labor, et cetera, of building that project, and those loan funds go into the internet company bucket, if you will. Now, the company, it's separated on the books, et cetera, but it's still under the United Company umbrella, to be clear about that. I don't want to misrepresent that. But ultimately, the way we've set it up is that company has to self-sustain. And we did a business plan before we started this project and spent a significant amount of time on it to ensure that if we started this project, assuming reasonable assumptions, could we make it financially viable? And so we did a business plan, and we've been tracking along with that business plan ever since we made the decision to go. And so far, we're actually outpacing the business plan as far as revenue, take rates, et cetera. And so I think that's a good situation right now. I think that we're seeing a lot of folks really appreciate our service, even though we've had a few bumps. I think that they really appreciate what we've brought, and right now it's doing really good. Now, the bottom line, though, is to your question, is there any risk to the electric side? We are backing up these loans with the assets of the electric system as well. That's officially what's happening, to be very transparent with you. But to the extent that everything just failed, which is not happening, by the way, we're very successful. But if it were to go the other way, basically the loan funds would roll, in essence, to the electric system. But that's not going to happen at this point. We're pretty much beyond that point. We have a lot of assets in the air. And so sort of the worst case scenario for the electric side of the business now is if we chose to sell the internet assets. And in that case, obviously, we would try to get the best dollar for that. But we really have no intention to do that. Our intention is to continue to build up the system and be a world-class network, which we are. And we're providing better service than anybody else can in this area. And we intend to continue to do that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, just to let everybody know, you are listening to a live interactive telephone town hall with Cameron Smallwood from United Cooperative. If you've got a question you'd like to ask, all you need to do is press *3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. Again, if you have a question and you're listening on your telephone, all you have to do is press *3 to enter the question queue. If you're listening in online, all you need to do is type your name and question right beneath the streaming player. And we've got another question submitted by Stephanie Arredondo online, and she states, with your new internet offered, I've seen a few current clients with the service saying they're having speed and quality issues. I want to make the jump, but I want a great product. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I'd love to. And so, yeah, we have had some bumps, and I'll be the first to admit some of the challenges that we've had. Many of our challenges have been because we have been more successful than we planned. Ultimately, we've had more people sign up than we expected. And the other thing about you as members that are using our service, you're using more internet than what anybody thought possible. And so because of those two things, we've had to struggle a little bit to add new capacity to Dallas and to the internet and to Netflix and to others to make sure you have a good experience. And so we've pretty much done that now. The issues that we've been dealing with the last few weeks, we've done some software upgrades, and we have to do those basically all the time. Now, we've made a decision at your co-op to let you know these things are going on. AT&T and others that provide service, they do the same thing, but they never tell you that it's happening. We took a different approach. I'm not sure if it's the right approach or not, but we took an approach to let our members know if we're going to take your router down or your access point down to do a software upgrade, we're going to do it. We're going to typically do it between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning and do that upgrade at that point in time. And so we've had a few members that have been upset with us because we're doing that. We chose to use the latest and greatest in fiber optic equipment. Because of that, we were sort of on the leading edge of using that equipment. And our provider, which is a world-class provider, it's Adtran, they've had to do some software updates to fix some bugs, if you will. And it's because we've chosen the latest and greatest stuff. But that's going to be great for our members long term because the decisions that we've made early, while we've had a few bumps in the road, they're really going to make that service level exceptional as we go forward. So, yeah, again, we've had a few bumps in the road, but at my house, I haven't even noticed it. If I wasn't getting notices from the co-op, I wouldn't even have recognized it. And so I've actually not had a single issue that has affected my ability to do what I want to do since I've been on the service, and I think many of our members see the same thing. There are some, it's a small number, but there are some members that use their service pretty active between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and some of those folks have posted that they're pretty unhappy with us because we took the service down for 20 minutes to do a software upgrade, and I apologize for that, but that is the time when most members are not using it, and that's why we've chosen that time to do the upgrades on our equipment. So. Hopefully that answers your question, Stephanie.
All right, moving back to a caller, we've got Charles Winsett on the line. Charles, welcome to the call. Go ahead with your question, please.
I have a question about why we're not having information about more power sources being developed here in Texas. With all the growth that we've got here, and it seems like we're on the verge of just times running out of power because we're not generating. I just wonder why we're not having more power plants or sources constructed here in Texas as this state grows with populace.
Now, Charles, I was having trouble discerning everything you were asking, but what I see on my screen is you're wondering why we're not hearing more about energy sources like solar and wind being built. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Cameron, can you address that, sir?
I'd be glad to. Charles, that's a good question. When we look at, and you have to look at ERCOT, so the majority of the Texas region, all the generation that's built within the state of Texas is basically private. And so that construction is done on a basis as to whether that individual company thinks that they can make money by selling energy into the ERCOT market or not. So ultimately, all sorts of different kinds of generators can build or not build in the ERCOT region, which does supply United. When you talk about solar and wind, about the only generation resource that is projected to be built within ERCOT in the next couple of years is solar and wind. We have a little bit of wind in our territory in the western parts of our territory north of Stephenville. We do have some solar in our territory as well, some that we've built in coordination with other folks, but some that has been built for other people that's in our territory and on our transmission lines, so to speak. So I will say more solar and more wind is projected to be built in the next 3 or 4 years, which is if you go and look at the ERCOT website, you can actually see what's planned to be built. But you'll see that they're projecting a pretty good surplus of solar and wind generation in the years to come. Now, whether or not that gets built or not is going to be up to those individual companies, but there is a plan to build quite a bit of solar and still more wind in Texas in the years to come. The challenge that we're going to have is those are intermittent resources. You know, the sun doesn't always shine everywhere. Sometimes there's clouds, and the wind doesn't always blow like we think it's going to blow. And so those generation resources are hard to forecast, and which is problematic in ERCOT when we're trying to keep the lights on, especially in the summer. And so in June, I don't know if you remember, there was an issue with enough generation. I don't remember what date it was around June 10th, but you know, ultimately the wind wasn't blowing like ERCOT thought it was going to. There were some clouds in a few areas that were taking the solar down, and then a few fossil plants went down, gas plants went down, and all of a sudden we were in a tight position again. When we rely so heavily on wind and solar, it really creates some complexities for us when we get in those high-use situations. So I have a feeling we're going to have some challenges as we go forward. You probably got more information from me that you wanted there, but hopefully that answered your question.
The time is now. If you've got a question, please press star 3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue to ask a question live on this call. If you're listening online and you've got a question, just enter your name and question right beneath the streaming player. Matter of fact, our next question comes from online. And the person states, I have the basic plan, 100 megabits per second, and I currently get 50 to 55 megabits per second. I think it's common sense that the max megabits per second is usually not achievable. Is that a correct assumption?
John, that's a great question. This is one of our biggest challenges, I think, in operating an internet company. When you operate an electric company, the lights are on or they're not, and it's pretty simple. The internet's a whole different pickle. What we've learned over time, it really depends on the device that you're using to do your speed test, because that's typically how you're getting those numbers, is you're doing some kind of speed test. And it depends on how far away you are from your router. If you're right next to it, it's going to be faster than it is if you're 200 foot away from it. That's just how the Wi-Fi systems work. Also, if you're wired directly to the router, you're going to get the speeds that you're paying for. So if you put your brand new computer on a wired connection and you do a speed test, you're going to get probably about 105 to 110 megabits per second. If you go off wireless, Depending on the wireless card in your device, if it only supports 2.4 gigahertz, for example, you're only going to get about 50 to 55 meg. No matter if you're paying for the 100 meg service, the 500 meg service, or the gig service, you're still going to be limited by the 2.4 connection that you're on. When you're on the 5 gigahertz connection on your router, you're going to see somewhere at tops of around 700, 740 megabits per second. If you're on the gig service, if you're on the 500 meg service, obviously you'd see the 500 meg. So it really depends on the device, which side of the wireless router you're connecting to, and so all those things matter. And that's been a big communications challenge for us, because not everybody understands, that Wi-Fi router actually has 2 radios in it, and depending on how far you're away, or depending on the radio in your device, it determines what network you connect to. All those technical issues, they do create some challenges for us, because they're not easy to understand. And so, but ultimately, we can speed test anytime you want and validate you're getting what you're supposed to get. It's really the device that you're using and how far away you are from the wireless router that determines your speed.
Thank you very much, Cameron. We're going to go back to the phones now, and we've got Brandy Shokas on the line. Brandy, welcome to the call. What is your question? Hello, Brandy.
Hi, I'm here.
Yes, go ahead with your question. You're live on the call.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was wanting to know, when it comes to the electricity side of things, you said that, typically you do the service between, 2 to 3 when you're having to do service and everything. And I noticed for the, when it comes to the electricity, it's more like 2 to 6 a.m. I was wondering, is there any way to, send out, a phone call or some sort of notice that the night of, giving people who are elderly or, needing to use CPAP, BiPAP, any sort of oxygen serving or any other electric equipment that might have a need between those hours, just like giving them a notice and saying, hey, prepare yourself, have other oxygen available, something like that, because we got kind of caught off guard twice through this summer where, just all of a sudden the power went out and we're like, oh my God, what are we supposed to do? So is there just any way of being able to notify people ahead of time by a phone call that, hey, this is going to happen, because, we don't necessarily have the internet?
Yep,
so
it is a good question. I understand your question. So on the electric side, we don't, if there's going to be a planned outage, we are going to communicate with you. And so if you've had an electric outage, by the way, we don't turn electric off to do anything without telling you typically. So the other thing is we don't have to do, software upgrades and things on the electric system for it to continue to run. So you should expect to have electric 24/7. That should be your expectation. If we're doing a planned outage for some reason, we will call you and contact you ahead of time. If you have a normal outage, i.e. a car hits a pole or something like that causes us damage that we have to go repair before we can turn it back on, in those cases, there's no way to tell you in advance, because it happens, we go out immediately and fix it. We typically have it back on within an hour or two. Sometimes, depending on how hard the damage is to repair, it may take 6 or 7 hours. It just really depends on the situation. But our goal is to have every outage restored in no longer than 2 hours when it's not planned. If it's planned, again, we give you a call. The second thing I'll tell you is for someone that's on a medical necessity kind of thing, there is a process that you can fill out to put yourself on a critical care list with us, and you can call into any office and we'll give you the form. Now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee you preferential treatment, but it lets us know that there's a critical customer at that location. And so when we're making certain decisions during certain outages, et cetera, we can at least know and make special contact if necessary. So hopefully that answers your question.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Cameron, looking at the clock, it looks like we're running out of time here. We need to wind down. So for everybody listening in on this call, if we weren't able to address your question today, You can leave us a voicemail after this event by simply remaining on the line, or you can always call our office. That number is 817-556-4000. Again, 817-556-4000. And with that, since, as I mentioned, we're coming to the end of this live event, Cameron, do you have any final words for us?
I just want to say I appreciate for all of you that called in. I know a number of you have dropped off by now, but for those of you that had dialed in or gotten a part of our presentation through the internet, we appreciate that. Our whole goal is exceptional service and value, and we're dealing with sometimes things that are outside of our control in providing that, but that doesn't mean we don't stop and we don't have every effort or make every effort to do that each and every day for you. I hope you're proud of your co-op and what we're able to accomplish for you, and know this, we'll never stop trying to exceed your expectations each and every day. So hope to see you on October 15th between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. at any of our office locations. I'll try to get to a couple of them during that time frame to meet some of you, and I hope to be able to do that. So until we meet again, God bless and be safe. Thank you for participating.
Again, thank you to everybody for participating in this live telephone town hall today. As always, we hope you stay healthy and safe and have a wonderful evening.